So I think we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Shali Katana, and I'm the Director of Member Experience and Programs here at MSBA. And we are very excited to have this coffee talk with your section this morning. And we've hosted, now almost 20 of these since the pandemic began. And it's been a really nice way to stay connected with the sections. And now, as we're coming into new leadership in the sections, and as we're several months into the pandemic, it's just really nice to stay connected. And, we're in a Google Hangout, so it's very informal. We do have a few slides, and some of our MSBA team will go through what we've been working on. And then we'll just open it up for discussion and, just kind of sharing ideas. We do have a chat function that's in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. So if you have an idea or a question, you can feel free to post there. And we'll be sure to address that during this chat. And you can also just feel free to jump in and just unmute yourself at any point to join in the conversation. And so we have, really in 2020 had such a huge push and drive since March, and it's been incredible to see the thousands of attorneys, members and non-members that have joined us, whether it's in our webinars, COVID webinars that we've put together, our town halls, virtual section meetings, and at the end of June, we had our first ever virtual annual meeting, which was wonderful to see so many people join us. And we have remained connected with a lot of Maryland leaders, including the Maryland Judiciary, the Federal Judiciary, the Governor's Office, really taking your concerns and questions to heart and staying connected with them, getting clarification about orders, about interpretive guidance, trying to get an understanding of where the governor is going on some of his orders. So that's been those have been very positive relationships, and we're really thankful that all of you have been a part of that effort. And we continue to have weekly calls with several large Maryland firms to talk about the business and practice implications of COVID. And that's been a really great resource to stay connected and to see what's going on the ground or with these businesses. And that's also helped us in our communications to you all. We also have a relationship with the Maryland Chamber of Commerce. And I will turn now to Richard Montgomery, who's our legislative director, and he can give you a few more updates about these initiatives.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. For those of you I haven't met, I'm Richard Montgomery, MSBA legislative director. In the legislative and government relations area, in addition to trying to tie up some of the loose ends that arose out of a legislative session that ended rather abruptly, we've been involved in a fair number of COVID-related matters. Shali mentioned already the Maryland Chamber of Commerce. We have been an active member of the Maryland Chamber of Commerce COVID-19 work group. And initially that dealt with a lot of the relief programs coming out of Congress. And it still involves that to the extent that there's any activity there coming out of Congress and the Small Business Association. But those discussions have turned more toward reopening issues and safety issues and liability issues and things like that. And that's mostly in connection with concerns of the clients of many Maryland practitioners. Shelley also mentioned the Governor's Office of Legal Counsel. We've been involved with a couple of executive orders that have been key to sustaining certain activities in Maryland. For example, there were two that sound similar but have very different ramifications. One that dealt with remote notarization of documents that was already covered by a law that was passed in the 2019 session, but it didn't have an effective date until October 2020. So there was a need for an executive order to sort of bridge that gap. Additionally, there was another executive order dealing with remote witnessing, and that dealt mostly with estate planning documents and to some degree health directives. So those will be in effect through the state of emergency, and at this point nobody knows exactly when that's going to end, whether that will end prior to the start of the 2021 session. And if that does happen, then there's going to have to be some provision made to extend certain provisions of those orders until the legislature can act. But in dealing with the Governor's Office of Legal Counsel, one of the things that comes up is executive orders tend to be relatively broad, and they tend to yield a lot of what if questions. Well, how does this apply to this? How does it apply to that? So and I think Shally will touch on a similar relationship that we've had with the judiciary, but what we've done is we've taken and compiled member questions and submitted batches of questions to the Governor's Office of Legal Counsel seeking guidance on what their understanding is in how those certain executive orders would apply. And in response, the Governor's Office of Legal Counsel has issued interpretive guidance on both those executive orders. And to the extent that we've had questions on others, we've had a very open door relationship with them where they're more than willing to answer questions. We've also monitored other aspects of the effect of COVID-19 on all sorts of things like the correctional system, what COVID-19 does in a jail where people are coming and going rather rapidly, as opposed to a state prison where people are pretty much there and not going back and forth the way they are in a county jail. So to the extent that your section has questions or needs for response on any of the executive orders or any administrative orders out of the court, please feel more than welcome to ask us. And in a nutshell, that's sort of basically it, Shally.
Thanks, Richard. And as Richard mentioned, with the Maryland Judiciary, we've shared almost 200 questions at this point. And it was very helpful and critical to share those questions and get an understanding of the impact of the orders and to get new orders as things were rapidly shifting on the ground. And as the courts are looking now to phase 3, next week, we'll continue to ask all of you to send us questions at feedback@msba.org, or just reach out to me or Richard directly, and we're happy to share those with the judiciary and any of these other entities, because there are certainly more questions that are coming up several months into the pandemic. We launched a COVID-19 website on March 13th when the stay-at-home order began. And we opened that up and made it available not only to our members, but also to non-members and the public to have resources from the MSBA, to have court information, business news, and also post resources for health and wellness, as well as access to our webinars. Recently, we published a reopening guideline for the legal community, and that we also made available to the entire legal community, not just to members. And that has been put together by staff attorneys here at MSBA, and it's a very good resource that's available on our website, and I'll post the link here in a couple of minutes. And we encourage you to take a look at that and just to continue letting us know what other kinds of resources we can provide to you at this time. We also increased our communications, as you may have noticed. We used to have an e-weekly that would go out once a week, and now we've increased that to twice a week, having some original content, letting you know what we're reading, and just giving you updates every few days about what we've been up to and what kind of news is out there related to COVID. We released a digital bar journal recently, and again, made that available to the entire profession. And we're working on the next issue, and we welcome any of you to contact us. We have a online submission portal that's available. So please let us know if you have any ideas or any articles, and we'd be happy to connect with you about that. And during this time, we've also provided our entire CLE catalog for free to the entire profession. And we'll hear from Andrea Terry in a few minutes about that initiative. We also continue to have publications, and we have new titles that are available on our website, so we encourage you to take a look at that. Our publications department is still going strong and have this as their upcoming schedule. So Andrea, I'll turn to you now if you'd like to give an update on learning opportunities.
Sure. Thanks, Shally. Good morning, everyone. As Shally mentioned, once the shutdown started in March, I think lawyers across practice areas started to experience really unprecedented, unexpected impacts on their practice areas, and more than a dozen of our sections raised their hands and started providing content for us to get out to members and non-members to try and help with everything from remote execution of documents to labor and employment law issues for both sides of that particular practice area. And so we've offered more than 30 now COVID-related webinars, and more than 21,000 hours have been consumed of the COVID webinars, plus the 150 plus CLE programs that we opened up to members and non-members, as Shally mentioned. And those are accredited seminars from our CLE catalog that were available on demand through the end of June for free. And the offer is continuing for members now. Starting by the end of this month, early August, we're starting to offer a virtual learning pass. For non-members, they will purchase it, and it will give them the same access that the free CLE offer that ran from March to June 30th. All the benefits contained will include live on demand and live streaming programming that is 90 minutes or less. That seemed to be the running time that carried the most interest during the free offer last spring. And so again, this is a free benefit for members, current members, through the end of calendar year 2020. And non-members will have to purchase the Learning Pass. We have an all-access Learning Pass also that will include live CLE programming, and that will be for non-members and members. But the Virtual Learning Pass, which provides access to all on-demand accredited programming and live stream, is going to be free for members through the end of this calendar year. So we're excited to do that. We had a lot of interest, a lot of takers. As I said, more than 21,000 hours of learning was consumed during the March through June period. And so we're going to continue that benefit for members through the end of this calendar year. And I mentioned that the accredited programming that was made available from our CLE catalog is of particular interest. We do have more than 1,300 members who are lawyers that are barred in Virginia and Pennsylvania alone, and many more in other MCLE jurisdictions. So the accredited programming that are in our catalog, that's available in our catalog, and our live streams are valuable. And so we hope our members enjoy taking part in that. The next slide is on our Legal Summit series. Unfortunately, as everyone knows by now, our annual meeting was canceled because of the pandemic, but we had almost 80 programs lined up, more programming in 8 different tracks than we've ever been able to offer before at our annual meeting. So we have been recording and streaming those starting in June. In fact, our first one would have been the first day of our annual meeting. And that's called our Legal Summit series. And you will see that advertised on our website, on our calendar, in our Learn From Home email that goes out every Wednesday that highlights all of your virtual learning opportunities. And we've got about 30 of those scheduled already through the end of September. And so look for those. Those are also part of the free offer for members. They're 1 hour to 90-minute programs, deep dives into niche topics. And we're very excited to be able to offer that programming, even though we weren't able to gather in person for the annual meeting this June. If anybody has any questions, feel free to post them in the chat. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Shally.
Thanks, Andrea. We're also planning to host a Legal Excellence Week later this year in November, and this will be a hybrid event that'll be in person and available virtually, and we'll pull together a lot of our fall programming, and including our Conference of Bar Presidents, some of our Advanced Learning Institutes, and we'll share more information with you in the coming weeks. But the purpose of that week is really to give you an opportunity, if you'd like, to take advantage of the entire week and go to a variety of programs. And we'll also have networking opportunities and keynotes as well. Or you can choose which programs you'd like to attend and just purchase those separately. So we will share more information about that in the coming weeks. And if you have any suggestions or questions, please feel free to reach out to us about that. I'll turn now to Lisa Kaplan, who's director of our Lawyers Assistance Program, to give us updates from her program.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. We have been very busy with health and wellness. You know that this is a really, really important time to take care of yourselves. So the MSBA COVID page has a health and wellness page, and there are a lot of resources on there, everything from some non-traditional stress management resources to yoga, to the tip of the day, to emergency resources. And there's a lot of things that you can find there, a lot of different fun stress management techniques. So please check that out. We also are doing Fit Friday, not every Friday, but keep an eye out for emails on Fit Friday. We've been doing workouts and yoga and mindfulness. So that's been really a great thing to do during this time. Also, the Lawyer Assistance Program, don't forget that it does exist. It's here to help with any type of personal problems. It is not just a substance abuse program. We are very lucky to have a very comprehensive program that's been around for over 40 years. It's free, it's confidential, it's a counseling program for a variety of concerns, and it's available to all lawyers in Maryland. We would love everybody to be a member, but it is available to any lawyer in Maryland. So if you know somebody who is suffering and they are not a member, please let them know they still can use the Lawyer Assistance Program. We have a statewide network of counselors, so when we are able to move around and you're in Southern Maryland, on the Eastern Shore, wherever you are, we can connect you with a counselor in that area. So you don't have to come to Baltimore. You can meet with somebody where it's convenient for you. If you are ever concerned about an attorney, you can refer somebody to the Lawyer Assistance Program. You can give me a call, and completely anonymously, you can let me know what your concerns are. It will not get them in trouble. It will not go to attorney grievance, but it may end up saving someone's life. So if you are ever concerned, I'd rather you give me a call. Again, your name will not be involved at all, and we will reach out and make sure that that person is safe. There's also financial assistance that is available to help with mental health and substance abuse treatment. So I've had a lot of people who have been in regular counseling who have had a hard time paying for it during this time, and we have picked up that bill and have been paying for their weekly counseling. I have had several people who have needed to go into outpatient or inpatient substance abuse treatment, and we have paid for that as well. So we are extremely lucky to have a fund where we have a good amount of money that we can help assist with that. So if you have any concerns, questions, you can reach out to me and I'm happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. We've also continued our close relationship with our partner, the Access to Justice Commission, and they did a lot of really critical work at the beginning of the pandemic. They also created their own website, which was not only helpful to civil legal aid organizations, but also to the public on issues that were really impacted by the pandemic, such as immigration, domestic violence, landlord-tenant. And now they have shifted their focus to partner with the Attorney General, and they have been asked by the Attorney General to launch a COVID-19 task force. And so they've been working with different partners and different committees, and they plan to continue this work for the rest of the year. And we will be broadly communicating to our membership, and they'll be communicating to the public about what's coming out of that task force. So we're really grateful that they're working hard on that. And there you can see Reena Shah, their director, doing her thing, as I'll say. They also continue to have weekly calls with civil legal aid organizations. They continue their public information campaign, and they focus on funding efforts, as that is a huge issue for them this year and next year for many civil legal aid organizations. And so we're really thankful for those of you that are joining us today and for your membership. And as always, you know, we ask you to just continue to spread the good word and to contact us at any time with any questions or concerns or ideas that you have. Our purpose really is just to be here for all of you and to stay connected. So with that, I know that we have a number of people that have joined us, and I'll turn now to Dana Cooper. Dana, do you want to give an update about what you've been working on and kind of what your thoughts are for the upcoming year?
Sure. First of all, thanks everyone for coming. I think we have our section officers and someone who works with me, and Hannah, who I also know. Hi, Hannah. Oh, and maybe one other person. Wonderful. So hi, guys. Great to see you all. As most of you already know, a thing that I always loved about the environment and energy section was the events that we put on and the ability to use those to network and talk to people. And I feel like we have a very, not small necessarily, but I feel like a lot of people in environment and energy law in Maryland know each other or have connections to each other, which is a wonderful thing. And I feel like the section really gives people the opportunity to keep those connections alive and utilize them both, to help our clients, to help our practices, and to help each other. And so that's what I love about the section. And I think this year we are working very hard to figure out how we can keep that same energy and connection alive when we can't do our normal, annual dinner, breakfast, etc. So we have been working on that. We are trying to do a monthly newsletter where somebody will write a topic, write a newsletter on a topic of general interest to the section. We have a few lined up for the next upcoming months, but for those of you not on section council, if you would like to author a newsletter article, please email me. And my email's around various places, but you can reach me at dana@coopermoores.com, which is still the email address I'm using for MSBA stuff. And we are also working on trying to get some webinars together, again, on topics that are of interest to the section. We had made a lot of progress prior to COVID on doing that's not the right word, a session with other sections on solar installations on agricultural land. And it was all set for May 6th and it got derailed, obviously. So we're looking at ways that we can work with other sections to generate content and keep the section going when we're not able to do our standard stuff. I think that's all I've got. And again, if anybody in your practice or just going through, if you have ideas for things, online content that you think the environment and energy section could potentially sponsor, that is great. Please get in touch with us. And I think really our main challenge is kind of having the participation to move things across the finish line, and get them organized and spearheaded. So that's kind of where we are. And I think that's about it. But for my section council officers, great to see you guys. See you again in a couple weeks on our next call. Yeah, that's all I got.
Thanks, Dana. And I know, Andrea, you're on the call. Do you think you could give a little bit of information about kind of going into this year, if there's any impacts on, putting on CLEs, putting on programming, and kind of what that process will look like for sections and for this group?
Sure. Obviously, we are continuing our CLE programming through the entire bar year. We are virtual through the end of the year so far. The sections have not wanted that have scheduled already through the end of September, some into December even, have not wanted to attempt to schedule a live program. So we're doing everything virtual so far that's on the upcoming schedule. This past week we had an elder law CLE. We've had district court programs. We had an ethics program on Thursday with Bar Council, and all of that is virtual. So if you're interested in putting on accredited programming, we are an accredited provider with Virginia, Pennsylvania, Delaware. And because we are accredited with Virginia, which has very stringent standards, pretty much every state in the country will recognize our programming for credit. We're not mandatory, and Maryland is one of 5 remaining jurisdictions in the country that's not mandatory. So the rest of the states do recognize our programming for credit. And so if you're interested in doing accredited programming, just contact me or my assistant, Chriselle Anderson. My email address is andrea@msba.org. And we are hoping to gather in person in the spring, again, starting with our Trial Advocacy Institute, which is a 4-day program. We're going to restart our 40-hour basic mediation program and everything in between. A lot of folks think that CLE pretty much does half-day or full-day programs or multi-day conferences, but really we can do, a 1-hour lunch and learn up to a full-day conference, up to, for example, the tax section does a 4-day advanced tax institute. And Shally did mention our Legal Excellence Week that is coming up the week of November 9th. And because several of our section's signature events were canceled in the spring because of the pandemic, the Advanced Business Law Institute, the Advanced Estate Planning Institute, and so forth, Real Properties Annual Institute. So we're combining all of those into one week, and we're very excited about that. And it's going to be terrific content. All the sections that are participating so far are very excited about operating under the umbrella of Legal Excellence Week. It's our inaugural event, and there's going to be a lot of CLE credit available and a lot of advanced content. So as Shally said, stay tuned for more information on that coming up. But if anybody wants to talk about accredited programming, just feel free to shoot me an email and we can talk about it.
Thanks, Andrea. And I've just posted in the chat what I referenced earlier, which is the reopening guide that we published a few weeks ago. So I just encourage you all to take a look at that if you haven't already. And I've also just shared further information on our efforts to promote and continue free CLE programming, as Andrea discussed, for our active members through the rest of the year. And I'd really like to open it up now and just to hear from all of you that are on the call, not just about MSBA and the section, but just how you're doing and, how you all are coping, with your work and with kind of balancing your personal along with that. And then, of course, would love to hear any feedback about any programs that you've participated in with the MSBA or any connections that you've had with us over the last couple of months. So I know, Dana, you have this scope of people here. So I don't know if anyone wants to jump in, or if Dana, you kind of want to help facilitate this.
Sure. Actually, there was one other section thing that I did want to mention that thought of belatedly, and Richard, is kind of related to your work. We're for the second year, we're starting our legislative task force for the section, where I believe you worked with Tom Previs last year. And one of our section council members, Kurt Karsten, has volunteered to start that up again. We understand that the filing deadline for state agencies, or the initial filing deadline for state agencies, is coming up, I think. Or not filing deadline, but something with state agencies. Paul or Lindsey maybe can help me out.
Are you, Dana, are you talking about departmental bills to be submitted? That's usually the middle of August.
Okay.
Although it's possible they may have pushed that back, but I can check on that if you'd like.
Okay. Yeah, we just wanted to start getting our legislative task force in place and ready to start looking at what comes out. I think in general, because our section kind of covers all sides of environmental issues in Maryland, we're not generally a section that would generally come to a consensus on taking a position on a bill. but the task force, I think, in the last year or so has been very helpful in getting information out to our members about, what is coming up in the General Assembly and what the progress is on bills that are related to environment and energy. So I think you'll be hearing from us soon for assistance in getting that started.
Okay, I'll just tell you very simply, my email address is richard@msba.org. So
Okay.
I'm really easy to find.
Great. Thank you. So Shelley, thanks for that additional introduction. So how are people doing? What's going on?
I see a lot of smiles. I'll say that.
Yeah, it's nice to see people. Hannah, do you mind if I put you on the spot for a second? Like, does everybody know Hannah and the great organization that she works for, the Chesapeake Legal Alliance?
I know a few people do, hi everyone. I'm Hannah Brubach. I work for the Chesapeake Legal Alliance, and we provide pro bono legal services to protect the environment, the Chesapeake Bay, and the communities living around it. So that's kind of our mission. We work through a volunteer network. We also do some issues in-house as of January 1st of this year. And so it's a really exciting time to be with the organization and be working on environmental issues. So if anybody ever wants to volunteer pro bono, you can contact me at hbrubach, and I can send my email too. But it's all volunteer. There's no commitment. You basically get on the list and see the cases that come out. And then if you're interested, you shoot me an email and I'll place the case with you as long as there's no conflicts. But we do it pretty informally to make sure that people can take the cases they are able to take.
Awesome, thank you. I hope you don't mind being put on the spot.
We're all working from home, and so I'll kind of start that coffee chat part off. But yeah, we're all working from home and saving on that gas mileage, which is nice. I don't have children, so I don't have to experience the dealing with kids and everything. So I'm sure it's a little easier for me than others.
I don't know, should I just randomly call on people? Paul, how are you doing?
Hanging in. I work for the Bay Foundation, so I've been really fortunate and grateful to have a steady supply of work when a lot of folks were struggling after things started to shut down. Fortunate to work from home with all the trappings that accompany that. But working for an NGO, you kind of are in this bubble. And so this year I was, fortunate enough to be nominated to be the section rep on the Board of Governors for MSBA. So I've gained an increased appreciation for the services that the MSBA provides to members. It's kind of always in the background. I was aware of a lot of the programming and things like that, but with this health crisis, I think it's really come to the fore with, the interpretations, the questions that Shelley has asked of the judiciary and the chief judge. That was really helpful to me personally. Understanding what courts are open, what phases of reopening we are in, what we can do, what hearings are being conducted. So I'm kind of rambling, but I guess the bottom line is it's good to feel connected to practitioners of all stripes. Learning more about the other sections. Whether it's bankruptcy or domestic practice and that sort of thing, it does make me feel more connected to my fellow bar members, because as Dana alluded to, our practice is pretty small. Our environmental bar in this state is pretty small, and what side of the issues you're on or who you represent, we do tend to know each other and move in the same circles. Sometimes move from industry to nonprofit or vice versa. So it's good to see everybody here, and thanks for offering this this opportunity to talk.
Awesome. Lindsey, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Lindsey Selba. I'm with the Baltimore office of Beverage and Diamond. It's nice to see everyone here today, and I'm on section council with Dana and Paul, so I'm happy to have any of you reach out if you're interested in helping with any of the efforts that Dana discussed earlier. As far as managing with the pandemic, we've been fully operational work from home status since March, and it's looking like it's going to be like that for the near future, at least. And it's been interesting here. I have 3 kids, 3 little ones, so we're doing a balancing act, and my husband's at home, so we kind of are juggling having this where you see me in my bedroom right now, hiding out, and then the kids downstairs. But it's fun, and I wouldn't trade the time with them for anything, so I feel really fortunate to be able to continue practicing and to have the time with them too. And looking forward to working with all of you.
Awesome, thanks. Melanie, how about you?
Hi, good morning, everybody. It's good to see you. And yeah, thanks for putting together this opportunity to just get together and chat. So yeah, I'm Melanie Santiago Mosier. My pronouns are she and her. I'm the managing director for access and equity with an organization called Vote Solar. We're a national nonprofit that specializes in state level legislative advocacy and regulatory interventions to support solar. Yeah, I feel like I've been in the energy space within the Mid-Atlantic and in Maryland for a really long time, and my career has taken a little bit of a different trajectory in the past few years with the role that I have now. You know, as Paul said, like in this NGO space, you can really get kind of in your own bubble in terms of the subject matter that you work on. Maybe we all do that, but you know, I definitely feel like you know, my world is about solar and solar equity and things like that. I feel awfully fortunate that I don't have children, and so you know, I hold on, that was several. I don't feel fortunate that I don't have children, but I recognize that I am fortunate because during this COVID time, I'm a person, you know, who's privileged because I don't have children, so I don't have to deal with childcare and all of those crazy things that come with it. Man, that was a really long way about saying that. Anyway, you know, and so it's been just interesting just to be working from home. Prior to COVID, I was on the road a lot. You know, hitting this conference circuit and so on. And so these days, you know, my conference appearances are all virtual, and it's very weird. I'd say the bigger thing than COVID, though, that's impacting me in my work is the increased attention to the movement for Black lives. You know, as the equity officer for my organization, it really has given me a heightened sense of intersectionality with regard to the kind of work that I do, my organization does, the greater environmental movement does, and the need to confront the ways in which our work really do intersect with historic systemic racism, and need to really think about how to break those down and what our role is in supporting the movement for Black lives. So that the last couple of months has really been a very eye-opening time for me and my organization.
Great, thank you. Let's see, Carol Green, are you on with us?
I am. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for holding this coffee. It's great for me. And the reason I'm participating is because I want to connect. I am a sole practitioner in Bethesda, and over the years, my career has morphed from Assistant Chief Environmental Enforcement Section at Justice, international corporate firm, and now I'm on my own. And so what is particularly interesting for me at this point in my career is the benefits and disabilities of COVID. The benefits are, in large part, that it has made me closer to my clients because I'm very dependent upon them for my legal practice, for communication, for intellectual stimulation. And that has been great. I have been tremendously busy for the first 6 months because I have a client engaged in a TSCA risk assessment proceeding at EPA. The disadvantage and downside, and this picks up on some of the things that Paul and Melanie said, is that in a way it's very isolating. Here I am in my office. I do have an office in a law firm in Bethesda, but I'm basically alone day in and day out, except to the extent that my clients and I interact on issues. And so one of the issues I'd like to raise is how can we continue to connect in a more direct and beneficial way as we go forward, obviously for a very long time in a setting that's, from a legal perspective, that probably isn't going to change. And so one of the things I think is really important, especially for those of us who are sole practitioners or not so connected to firms, is being tuned in to what's going on in Maryland, understanding the legislative picture, understanding how budget issues impact our practice, what's happening with development in the state, given COVID consequences, and how does that impact us? So I see a whole panoply of issues that affect us, large issues, personal issues, and greater practice issues, and could use some help there, and also, but would be willing to participate in communications on those issues. So again, thanks for doing this. This is great.
I would just echo that, is that it's really encouraged communication to so many things, and it's almost made distance not a factor anymore, where we can now, it might be an opportunity for the environmental section to grow outside the metropolitan area, which I feel like it's kind of limited to in a way. But, it's encouraging everything to go online. So even once we get back to being in person, maybe there'll always be an online aspect of a meeting or something like that, to encourage that, closing that distance gap throughout the state. Because there are areas of our state that are completely in the opposite directions, that would be interesting to get in. And so I really echo what you said, Carol, is that it's developing a new kind of connection in our world that we can benefit from.
Yeah, thank you both. Carol, I've been a solo practitioner for 3-ish years, and I'm actually in the process of closing my firm to take an in-house counsel job. But I really have a lot of empathy and sympathy for just being kind of on your own all day, every day, and needing, and that's actually one of the reasons why I got more involved in the section when I started my own firm, because it was kind of a culture shock of being surrounded by people all the time to just not, and obviously COVID makes it so much worse. So I'm gonna drop my email in the chat, but I encourage you and everyone to reach out to me with thoughts on how the section can support keeping these connections going, as we try to get through this together. I see Charles Schaller. Schaller, are you on?
Good morning, everybody. Yes, I am. I know a few of you, if you can hear me. Paul, Good to see you.
Good to see you, Charles.
I am an attorney with Baker Donaldson here in downtown, and like everybody else there, I'm actually in my office and have been for about 4 weeks. And getting ready for an actual in-person Board of Appeals hearing tonight over on the shore. So, you know, the world continues slowly for sure, but it continues. And is it, I can tell you from my personal experience over the last 2 weeks, dealing with the secretary of MDE and the assistant secretary, they are to get out and do as well as we are in some respects, safely, of course, you know, because they realize, at least in the environmental field, you can only do so much from your desktop. Sometimes you have to put the dirty soil in context with the surrounding environment, and it becomes extremely difficult when you look at a plan, even through Zoom, and you pop it up and the right decision, especially in enforcement situations where, you know, occasionally it's a little horse trading and people need to see exactly what has occurred or allegedly occurred. So the virtual thing, I give it kind of mixed reviews personally. I mean, I really appreciate this, and, you know, having practiced in this state a long time, it's nice to see new faces. No offense to Paul or myself, but you know, I did, you know, get a lot of benefit out of the ABA conference in the fall, which was in person, and then participated in the spring conference. And, you know, some of the coffee chats and receptions virtually just don't work. You know, it's just different. But maybe I've got to get used to it. So anyway, it's kind of nice. I appreciate everybody keeping the MSBA section alive and well. It's kind of languished for a few years. You know, we really haven't had any major environmental policy shifts in this state for a little bit. Maybe we can get there with Grumbles and Dorsey and so anyway, good morning.
Thanks, Charles. I know we also have Erin Benson. How you doing, Erin? Since I talked to you yesterday.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it, especially being a new attorney and a new member of this section. Dana and I worked together at Green Vest, and she actually became my boss about a week before we all went home. So she's been great, and it's been really nice to like have that transition, but I can't imagine how Dana was able to perfect that change so quickly. But it's been great. We've been lucky enough to still be quite busy despite COVID. It's been a little weird just because I am a new attorney. So I clerked for a year and then started at Green Vest. So I haven't even been at Green Vest a year. And then when COVID hit, so as a new attorney, it's been very different. Like I have never met the majority of you, never seen your face until right now. So that kind of stuff and the networking and meeting people and learning and experience everything is kind of put to a halt for my friends and I. But it's been great in other aspects, just as everyone said. I honestly have never worked from home until this, so I didn't realize how productive you could actually be working from home. I always thought, like, oh, everyone just does their laundry and like hangs out with their kids. I do have a boyfriend in bar prep right now, so that's almost worse than having a kid, I feel like. I can't speak to that, but it has not been fun. But I just wanted to thank you guys for the opportunity, and I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to be a bigger part of the section.
Awesome, thanks, Erin. I think we have one person on the phone too. Maybe?
I see a 973 area code. It looks like you're muted. If you can press *6, maybe we could get an update from you.
Hello, it's Wiley Donald.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, I'm an attorney with McCarter and English. We're a regional firm, so I'm I don't know, sort of a solo in Maryland because we don't have an office here. And before COVID, did a lot of work out of my house, and after COVID, did all of my work out of my house. I haven't had a jury trial since, although I saw that Florida finally had a jury trial. I don't know if that's the first one in the nation post-COVID. Don't know how they did it. Boggles my mind that you could do it. But it's certainly been an experience. I haven't been involved in the section, and I'm, I guess, delighted to have this opportunity to just sort of hear some other perspectives on what's going on and planning for the future, perhaps.
Great, thank you. Nice to meet you. We're running a little low on time. I know Erin and I have a lot of work to get back to. But yeah, does anybody have any closing thoughts or additional thoughts before we wrap up?
And I just wanted to add, we're happy to host another one of these for your section, and maybe even, link you with another section. That's been really interesting in the past couple of months, because, there's so many great just perspectives that we're hearing about, and ideas and things that are coming up, whether it's, talking about race, talking about, your own mental health and that of your peers and all of that. So I just wanted to say it's an ongoing conversation. It's not limited just to an hour every couple of months or anything like that.
Great, thanks so much, Charlie. Well, with that, I think we'll maybe wrap up. If people want to stay on and chat, I'm sure that's okay.
Absolutely.
Great. But thank you so much, everybody, for joining. It's so good to hear from everybody and see some faces and hear how you're doing. And again, I dropped my email in the chat, so most of you already have it. But in case you don't, please feel free to reach out to me at any point. And maybe we will look at doing another one of these in the near future and try to get some more folks involved. Yeah, but thank you so much, and stay safe, stay well.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
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 Thank you. Bye.